Time now for Media Watch with Emma James. Good evening, Emma.
Hi there.
You're focusing on the Francophonie summit this evening, the biggest event apparently that Armenia has ever organised. So it's a big deal for Armenia and the French-speaking world.
Yes, absolutely. And it's not without controversy. And that seems to be what is really catching people's attention right now. That controversy largely centred around the woman who is expected to be the new Secretary General of this club of French-speaking nations. She is Louise Mushikiwabo, the Rwandan foreign minister. And she's certainly been trying to make an effort to win over her critics. She took to the stage last night along with a team of dancers and performers and really I think was quite impressive, busting some moves there. Wow. It's a traditional Rwandan dance.
Can I say better than Theresa May? I mean, that's the kind of a little bit more rhythm going on there.
Oh, absolutely. No, I think she does pretty well. She danced for a good solid couple of minutes and didn't miss a beat. Not bad at all. Rwanda's The New Times declared that she had mesmerised the audience. And with some people questioning the Francophonie credentials of Rwanda, it's interesting to note that actually many of those performers are based here in France. So it's interesting to see that they chose to do that, perhaps in reaction to those criticisms. Certainly some people in Rwanda getting quite excited about this. This gentleman is a photographer and journalist tweeting about the story, saying because she's a woman, African, very Pan-African, she's very competent, but beyond everything because she embodies the values of humanity that our world needs, and he's urging everybody to get behind her for that position, which she is expected to be given sometime during this summit. However, there are many critics out there because of Rwanda's record on human rights. Ken Roth from Human Rights Watch tweeting about this issue, saying the government is releasing some political prisoners, but there's a lot more to be done to end its intense repression. There's a lot more detail about what is going on in Rwanda still on the Human Rights Watch website. In this article by Lewis Mudge, is Rwanda's political thaw real? Now, he says that Rwanda has to show that it is genuinely turning over a new leaf and not just paying lip service to this. They have to genuinely be ready to uphold the tenets of La Francophonie on human rights. Namely, the government has to end summary executions, enforced disappearances, unlawful arrest and detention, and torture, which apparently are all too common still to this day in Rwanda. It's not just human rights organisations who are getting in on the criticism, though. Plenty of African leaders not happy about this at all, believing that Rwanda not really a francophone country. RFI has spoken to Paul Béranger, who's an opposition politician on the island of Mauritius. He's also getting in a little bit of criticism of Emmanuel Macron in his comments, saying that the French president has used La Francophonie as a French toy, saying it's bad news, it's supposed to promote the values of the French language and human rights. Now, Louise Mushikiwabo has answered some of her critics in an article in Le Monde. They've asked her many questions. On the issues of human rights, she says there are always improvements to be made and no country is beyond reproach. And as for whether it's really a francophone country, she said, well, yes, they do give lessons in school in English now, but it's important to put more emphasis on it because the reality is that is the language of Silicon Valley, it's the language of social media, and it's just a practicality, and they're not the only francophone country doing it.
If I remember correctly, they shifted one of their official languages from French to English several years back, and I guess this is also perhaps a way of wooing Rwanda back into the sphere of the French-speaking world. Now, the French footballer who became a global star at the World Cup, Mr. Well, you'll tell us more. He's on the front cover. We were talking about him earlier in sport as well. He has a new honour to cherish. Time magazine.
Yes, Mbappé. The man is, of course, Kylian Mbappé. Who else? The darling of the French squad, revered for his talent and also respected very much for his attitude, both on and off the pitch.
Incredibly mature and stable-minded.
Very much so. Just 19 years old. It is incredible. And he is the latest cover star on the global edition of Time magazine. It's a rare honour. He's not the first footballer. The others have been Messi, Neymar and Balotelli. Wow. So he's in some pretty esteemed company.
Indeed.
And just at the age of 19 years old. Now, he's is the first one to be there, though, it has to be said, under the heading of a next generation leader, because he's a boy from the banlieue. It's a real rags to riches story. And in this era of divas on the pitch, he is really seen as very humble and pretty adorable, I think it's fair to say. Now, Vivian Walt was the journalist who got to sit down with him. She said she asked him how he's handling his mega fame at just 19. He tells me he clings to home truths from mum and says the key is respect, humility and lucidity. Now, in the article itself, he's actually quoted as saying, "My mum has always told me that to become a great football player, you must be, before all, a great man." Wise words.
I love that. Respect, humility, lucidity, words to live by. Thanks for that, Emma James.